that are listed on your sheet. All right, so I want you to know lymph vessels. That's what I was just talking about. Those are the smallest things. They're the ones actually absorbing. That's where lymph, interstitial fluid, turns to lymph at the lymph vessels. Collecting ducts are just bigger lymph vessels, basically, and lymphatic trunks are just even bigger lymph vessels. I don't care that you ever identify collecting ducts, lymphatic trunks, or any of the, I don't mean any, all the way down to right and left right lymphatic duct and thoracic duct. I do want you to know those. But everything above right lymphatic duct and below lymphatic vessels, you don't need to identify at all. So let's talk about the right lymphatic duct, right lymphatic duct and the thoracic duct. What's that? Yeah, so on your list, I do want you to know what lymphatic vessels are. They are your third type of blood vessel. But everything below that, work your way down, and I'll point out the two. Let's see how it's. The right lymphatic duct, I want you to be able to ID this one. It's pretty easy, but it's an important one. And then I also want you to be able to identify the thoracic duct, which empties into the left subclavian vein right here. So they're both actually emptying into the exact same place, just on different sides of the body, sorry. Not the exact same place. But they have two different names. And there's a reason they have two different names. I would have named them differently, but there is a good reason they have two different names. The right lymphatic duct drains everything in light green here. So basically, your right thoracic cavity, your right arm, and the right side of your face. But if you look at our thoracic duct, it's a totally different situation. It drains everything else. So both of your lower extremities, even though one's on one side of your body and one's on the other, they all go to the thoracic duct. And pretty much all of your abdominal cavity and your left thoracic cavity, they all end up going into the thoracic duct. And so this is why you're going to get, if someone does have a parasite or something like that, or something blocking the lymphatic system, you're going to get different symptoms based on where the blockage is. So you're going to get your right arm swelling like crazy if you block the right lymphatic duct. But you won't have any additional swelling from that in your legs. Whereas if both of your legs and your left arm and left pectoral region come in and that's swollen, but your right arm is totally spared, that means you're dealing with a thoracic duct obstruction. And so it's an asymmetrical thing, but clinically it's kind of cool because it gives you a hint. Sometimes when things are symmetrical, it's actually harder to solve the problem, but in this case, you can kind of figure out where the problem is anatomically based on whether or not it reflects the right thoracic duct, or the right lymphatic duct, or the thoracic duct areas. Now, the thoracic duct is really long, goes all the way down, and it basically ends, so it's this whole section from its kind of insertion, but where it empties. Where it begins is this other structure that I do want you to know by name, which is the cisterna chyli. This is a giant lymph node that drains from your abdominal cavity and your lower limbs and your pelvic cavity. It's got a big job, a lot of volume there. So some people will get retroperitoneal infections, like infections of their kidney and the things that are behind their digestive tract for the most part, and that can travel to the cisterna chyli. And it can obstruct the lymphatic return below it, because everything's flowing up, hopefully. And that's going to cause swelling and edema basically from the belly button and below. And it will spare the upper extremities. So those are your main things, kind of like a triangle. You've got your right lymphatic duct, your thoracic duct, and your cisterna chyli. And those are your big main structures of the lymphatic system. You are never going to find a place on someone's body and be like, oh, that's where that lymphatic vessel is. They're incredibly variable in their location, just like the vein, actually more so than the veins. Veins are variable, but lymphatic vessels are even more variable. And so if you ever deal with a lot of people that have had surgeries, especially cancer-related surgeries, cancers are really a pain when they end up jumping into the lymphatic system. Because if a cancer gets into a lymph node and our immune system can't stop it there, it will get released into the general circulation and spread everywhere. So often when they're trying to remove a cancerous tumor, you're going to pull those lymph nodes nearby also. Because it doesn't do you, if you're going to go in there and do something that invasive, you might as well remove the potential infected lymph nodes. And so you're going to have people that are dealing with, really for the rest of their life, trying to manage their lymphatic edema or lymphedema as a result of that. The individual lymph nodes, they're named by their region. Okay. So like mediastinal, but there's no precise number or location for any of them. Yeah.
Is that why cancer patients, a lot of them have weight problems, like they gain weight, kind of like Tyler would know?
Yeah, no, you'll definitely gain water weight.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't affect the metabolic processes at all, but there's a lot that goes into fitting, like proper fitting compression garments and things like that, because one size does not fit all, and you can end up, actually, if they fit wrong, you can end up like pinching the edema down in the hand, which can be incredibly painful. And so there's a lot that goes into dealing with the removal of significant portions of the lymphatic system. Diuretics are another way that they can deal with it, but those have kind of significant side effects. But like my grandfather is a way that they didn't put him in compression, well they did eventually, when he could fit into him. But they put him on significantly, incredibly effective diuretics, because the whole idea behind a diuretic is to remove excess water from your body. So in an acute situation that makes sense. But compression garments are the way that you're going to do it on a daily basis. All right, so this just illustrates a little bit more kind of the interaction between all three of these vessels. Lymph vessels definitely get left out. So here it is, the loner, the third. Three's a company. And arteries and veins are always paired right next to each other. Lymphatic vessels must be there, though, because anywhere you have a capillary bed, you're going to be leaking fluid. So this image is basically the same thing that we've been talking about, but this is extremely important in the lungs. So lymphatic, you're leaking fluid into your lungs at all times. But fluid on the lungs, too much of it prevents you from being able to exchange oxygen. So one of the things that also happened with my grandfather when there was a traffic jam in the venous blood flow was incredible pulmonary congestion, which is fluid on the lungs. So you'll also get people talking about, oh my God, I can't breathe in, because when there's fluid on your lungs stick together with a force that's like impossible for you to inflate. And so people will describe it as feeling as if someone is sitting on their chest. So a way to monitor someone's progression for getting fluid off of their body is always asking them, well, how's breathing going today? If it's easier, that means you have less fluid on your lungs. If it's getting harder to breathe, then you might actually be going the wrong direction. So it's incredibly important in the lungs, arguably more so than the rest of the body, because the lung is so important for survival, basic survival. All right, let's talk about the immune system a little bit. You guys have already been introduced to this.